First and foremost, I want to thank you for being here tonight. My name is Paul Ackley. I am the athletic director for the McFarland School District, so my role includes middle school athletics as well as high school athletics. This is considered our athletic code meeting that you are coming to, which is an expectation for all of our parents to come to this and listen along with their athlete. We understand that it being the middle of July, it might be a little bit more challenging to coordinate that. And so if your child is not here, I would appreciate you taking this message back to them and sitting down and talking with them in regards to what you heard here tonight. All right? I do have an administrator of our school here with us tonight, so I very much appreciate that. And I'm going to turn the mic over to David Piavanetti, our associate principal, one of our associate principals. And I think in the crowd, we also have Ann Nichols, our other associate principal. So, picking up another child. So, here is David to kind of say hello and introduce himself.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, everybody. For one person who clapped. I have one fan. As an associate principal, that's good. My average just went up. No, thank you for being here. We'll keep it really quick, and that's just to simply say thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting, our students, your children. Sports are obviously a highlight of the students' experience here at McFarland High School. It's important to our students, to our staff, to our community, and it means a lot. Unfortunately, I'm often brought in when things go wrong or where there's a problem, and if there's a violation of our school athletic and activity code, we just ask for your support. There are some basic things that we ask of students. We ask them not to drink, we ask them not to smoke, we ask them not to do drugs, we ask them not to steal, we ask them not to cheat. And we had an athletic and activity code meeting earlier this summer, and we had 12 different representatives, parents, students, coaches, administrators, and uniformly everybody agreed that if there's one thing we want to be unanimous and clear on, it's that when you wear the Spartan uniform, you're representing our school and our community, and you are held to a higher standard. And some of the things that Mr. Ackley is going to talk about tonight is, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a Spartan? And as parents, I would just ask that if there's ever a time when myself or Ms. Nichols or Principal Finstead have to contact you and let you know that your child was in violation of one of our rules of our code of conduct, that you listen to us and you support us and you work with us. These are all part of learning experiences, just like being on a team is a learning experience. But hopefully we won't have any incidents like that this year. Certainly I don't want to start things off on too bad a note, because this is a highlight of your school year, and we want it to stay that way. Remember your students first, student athletes, and have a great school year. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so at the very beginning of the meeting here, we passed out a small packet of 3 papers. The front blue page is something I need you to turn in. If you want to turn it in tonight, that would probably be the easiest. For you, I have a great wooden box up here that I can hold all of that stuff in. So you can just put that key points of the athletic code sheet right in here tonight after the meeting is complete. If you forget to do that and you take it home, that's okay. Just go ahead and bring it back, or have your child bring it back and turn it in to the front office. There should be another wooden box that looks like this in the front office, or you can ask one of the administrative assistants in the front office where you would like to put it. My assistant's name is Jessica Lupke. She has summer hours, but not regular summer hours, or not like full day summer hours. So her hours typically are 8 to 11, roughly. And you can always call or email her with questions, or feel free to call or email me as well. The second sheet in your packet is a yellow form. If you are a parent of a sophomore, junior, or senior, you may have already turned this in. You only have to do it one time for the 4 years that your child is here at McFarland High School, and it's really your option. It's not that you have to do it, it's more of a choice for you and your family. It's called a HIPAA form. We're very lucky to have an outstanding athletic trainer in our district, a community member, a father of athletes in our high school, Jay Hansen. So Jay, if you could stand up, please, so everybody can recognize you. So Jay is in charge of your child when your child gets injured, or I should say your athlete gets injured. Jay is phenomenal. His hours are 3 to 6 after school, and he has the ability to rehabilitate or evaluate the injury that occurred in any type of situation. He's at our contests, he's at our practices, but do realize he's only one person, so he can't be everywhere, but he does his best to do what he can. You can always reach him on our district website through a phone extension as well as an email address. And the reason I bring Jay into this conversation at this time is because that's a HIPAA form, which gives us, or Jay I should say, the right to communicate your child's sports injury with educators in this building. So for example, if an athlete would get a concussion, Jay could notify the teachers if he has consent through the HIPAA form. Is that correct, Jay? All right. If there's other injuries that occur that would maybe affect your child's education, he can share that information with the educators. If you don't sign the form, he doesn't have that right. That's the Privacy Act. Okay? Any questions on that? So the last form then is another blue form, and it's the transportation form. And what that does is it allows your child to leave an event at the end of the event to ride home with you. But please understand, it only allows your child to ride with you. You cannot transport other athletes. Please be respectful of that. Please make sure it gets in the hand of the coach. All right, and please make sure you do your best to get it to the coach. I would really appreciate 24 hours in advance. If you know that, we understand that these things are exceptions, but please make them exceptions and not the reality, not the norm, I should say. We really want our athletes to ride the school bus there and ride the bus back. That's the safest and best way to get our athletes to our contests and back home. Okay? Now, in the past, I have given you a folder, if you remember that. Some of my veteran parents that are sitting in this thing for their 9th time or 10th time, thank you. I appreciate your support and appreciate you being here. I used to give you a lot more paperwork. I'm trying to decrease that because you don't need more papers to put on your counter at home or to hang on your refrigerator. So my goal is to put some of those other pieces of paper that I used to give you on our sports website. And I'll show you how to access that sports website later on in the presentation. Things like communication protocol, banned substances from the WIAA, sportsmanship guidelines for the athlete and parent and coach. Just those types of resources that you can use and look at throughout the year. All right? So that covers the handouts that you have. Please remember, yellow, it's your option. Should go in the wooden box as well. And blue, the key points form should be turned in. Do not turn in your transportation form to me. Okay, I don't need that. That should go to your coach. So that's yours to keep. Okay, you don't need to fill it out right now. That's just yours to keep. All right. If there's no questions on the 3 pieces of paper that I've given you, I'll move forward and try to get through this as quickly as I possibly can. But please also be understanding that it does take me time to go through this, and that I do try to do the best that I can to be thorough with the information so that there aren't any questions. If at any time you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. All right? So, like Mr. Pivanetti said at the very beginning, we are student athletes. High school sports is an extension of the classroom. What we do in the classroom, we expect our athletes to do on the field, the rink, the course, the track, the court, whatever it might be. It's an extension of our classroom. High school sports is not collegiate sports. It's not professional sports. It's where our kids, our athletes, represent our school and have privileges and responsibilities that go outside of the school day. So when we're on a bus or we're going against an opponent, maybe in East Troy or Jefferson or Monona Grove or Oregon, whatever the conference might be that your sport is in or whatever the sport may be, you are representing us. And that comes with responsibilities, but being an athlete also comes with privileges. You're able to get out of school early sometimes. You're able to be recognized, maybe at a state organization. Maybe you're an all-conference player. All of these things are wonderful things for our athletes to be able to have, but we also understand that it comes with added responsibilities. So, getting into the nuts and the bolts of our registration process, which many of you have already possibly started, some maybe not, and that's okay. The bottom line is, your child, your athlete needs to be fully registered before the sport starts. If you're not fully registered, we can't allow them to practice. So please make sure you pay attention to this, and if you have questions, please ask. So, the first thing is, the registration is online through Infinite Campus. Many of you have been getting Infinite Campus emails in regards to this meeting, but then also in regards to registering for the sport. Make sure when you go on there, the parents log in, and what happens then is you have to know to go to your inbox. And that has, like, depending on how old your kids are, you could have like 800 messages in that thing. All right? So, what we've done is we have a little red exclamation point by the message that says MHS Sports Registration Fall. Click on that. This should be done with the parent and athlete, because in that is the athletic code that we expect the athlete and the parent to sign off on and know. Also the concussion form, that is a state law that we have to sign off on as a parent and athlete. So it should not be just the parent going through this process. It should be a partner event, or if you have multiple children, a group event, so that they understand the registration process and the code and the concussion. Along with that, there's also emergency information form or emergency information that you have to put in there, and that allows us to know who we need to contact if an emergency would occur. Sports fee, you can pay that online. It's $92 per sport, per child, per family. So you can pay that online, or you can hand in a check tonight made out to MHS for $92. Okay, you could drop that off with Jessica out at the front table. Physicals. We obviously don't sign off on a physical online because we need a physician to sign off on a physical, or a physician's assistant. So, physicals are good for 2 years. So if your athlete had a physical and it's dated after 3/31 of 2015, they're good for all their sports this year. Okay, March 31st, 2015. If it's February or January of 2015, then we have to get a new physical. Unfortunately, if it's middle of March, it's a WI requirement. That's the date they set. So they're good if they're dated after March 31st of 2015. Physical forms can be picked up here at our front table. You can also pick them up in the front office if you don't get one today. And you can also download it or print it off on our sports website. I only need the front page of that physical. I do not need all the other pages that kind of give me like your immunization history and other things. We just need that front page. But we need to have a signature of a physician, the date of the exam, and a signature of the parent and a date that they signed it. Okay? Physicals get a little tricky because they get a little challenging to schedule at this time of the year. So please double check with your family practice and make sure that your child is up to date. If you're not sure, you can always call us and we can look that physical up for you. Again, you can call me or Jessica Lupke. Tonight, this is exactly what you're doing. You're attending the Athletic and Activities Code meeting. You can view this online. I try not to let that out too much because then nobody would show up. Okay? And let's face it, online isn't as good as seeing me in person. All right? So, if you know of a family that is going out for a sport and they're not here, then they can go online. They can view this video that we're taping right now. The key points form of the athletic code is on our website as well. You can print that off and turn that in. But this is part of the registration process, attending this meeting so that we all are on the same page. And then lastly, meet WIA enrollment, residency, grade, and eligibility requirements. If you're new to our district, there are some rules that the WIAA has that we need to follow. So please make sure that you check in with me and the guidance office so that we are all set on our transfer rules and eligibility rules according to the WIAA. Any questions on registration? My veteran parents, anything to add? It looks, from looking at the registration handouts that we give to our coaches, it looks like many people have already started the process. It might not be totally complete yet, but many have started the process, so thank you for doing that. We do have a low-cost health insurance for you through our school district. If you're in need of that, please contact me and I can set you up. Again, it's an online form and an online registration to be part of that, but you are more than welcome to take part of that. Okay, kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of things now with the athletic code. So the registration part is complete. We have a good idea of what we have to do to make sure our child can practice on that first day. Now we want to get into the athletic code and the activities code. So what is this document? Well, this document is basically an outline for our co-curriculars, athletic and non-athletic, and the expectations that we have of our student athletes, but also our non-athletic co-curricular participants. So we have, many things for the kids to be involved in here at McFarland High School, whether that's DECA or HOSA or Skills USA, along with all the other sports that we have. They're representing us, and so we want to come up with policies that are fair and consistent so that we can make sure that kids are making positive, healthy choices, and if they make a mistake, they learn from it. That's a big part of what we want to do as educators. We're not out to have a gotcha mentality. I am not a police officer. I am not a detective. I'm an athletic director. And my job is to follow this code to the best of my ability and uphold it for this community and this school. So this year, with a new administration, new superintendent, kind of a year under their belt, Dr. Bedell and Mr. Finstead, our superintendent and principal. Mr. Finstead, our high school principal, asked me to get a group of people together, okay, and you can see who made up that group, and review over our athletic and activities code to see where we're at. Because every year comes new challenges, new events that occur, and it's important that we as coaches, community members, school board members, administrators, go over this to make sure that we're being fair and equitable. So you can see that the committee met. That was a representation of the committee. We went over the code. We took the recommendations to the administration. Myself, Ms. Nichols, Mr. Piavanetti, and Mr. Finstead all met and then came up with some final decisions on our athletic code. Some old terminology that we need to kind of get out of our head is Policy 1, Policy 2. Instead, the committee felt it'd be better to name the policies rather than give a number to them. So we have now a substance policy. It's exactly the same as Policy 1 in the old code. We just simply have changed the name to substance policy. This deals with obviously use or possession, intent to sell or sale, distribution or sharing of any illegal substance for our athletes. Obviously, these are types of behaviors that we don't want our athletes involved in when it comes to illegal use of drugs and alcohol. All right? The first offense is 20% with an assessment, second offense 40, and anything else is 50. Talking with the assessment, the first violation can be one or the other, meaning it can be a face-to-face assessment, where we have UW ADAP. It's the Alcohol and Drug Intervention Program for Adolescents through UW Health. You can set up a meeting there and go with a counselor and talk with a counselor to make sure that there's not any underlying issues that maybe we just haven't seen yet. Or you can do an online option through Third Millennium Classes. All right? So for the first offense, we give two choices. The UW Health option is free. The Third Millennium option for online is $35 cost, obviously to the family. You can pick either one. It doesn't matter to us. An appointment or basically a decision needs to be to me within 2 weeks of being formally notified. So if an athlete has a substance policy violation, obviously the parents will know. We'll have a conversation with the student athlete and the parents involved. We'll send a letter home, and from there, that family has 2 weeks to figure out what option they would like to do. If an assessment is not completed, then there is additional suspension. We feel, again, a mistake was made. It's our job to educate. It's our job to let them know how they can fix this issue and not reoccur that behavior. Okay? Yep.
2 slides back. There you go. 20%, 40%, 50%. I'm not sure if that's...
Yep. Good question. So 20%, 40%, 50%, thank you, Mr. Handel. It's simply the scheduled conference, non-conference games. It does not include the WIAA playoffs, okay? It's the schedule of events. So every team has a different amount of games. For example, soccer can have up to 24 contests. We schedule 20. That's what our coach prefers. Basketball can have 22 games. Each sport, according to WIAA rule, has a game maximum. I don't always take the game maximum. What we do is we take the scheduled events, and then we take that percentage, 20, 40, or 50, from that schedule of events. Please understand that the WIAA also has a rule that there's a minimum of a 1-game suspension, and if a student athlete is in violation or ineligible, I should say, for any reason during WIAA playoff time, they are ineligible for the entire tournament time. So whether that's academically, whether it's a substance violation, if they miss a regional game, it's the WIAA's rule that they are out for the entire tournament. So please understand, as you near your playoff run or your postseason season, make sure that we're all making good choices, because it can really affect the opportunities you have to play in some postseason games. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
What exactly is this assessment?
So the assessment comes through an online class where they start to educate you and ask you questions about your behavior, maybe some choices that you've made, educating you on the dangers of dealing with alcohol, tobacco, or other drugs. And that would be more of the online type option, where it's more of an online educational class, whereas the UW alcohol and drug assessment is sitting down with a counselor, talking to them about your behavior and making sure that we don't have any underlying issues that could be reoccurring or could possibly have already occurred, and now we're just kind of getting onto this. All right? The next violation that we talk about, or policy we talk about, is called personal conduct policy. In our old code, this was considered a policy 2 violation. Now, again, taking the numbers out of it and giving it some names, personal conduct, behavior. You can see that we have many things listed here, all right, that would fall in this category. I would really appreciate you taking good note of this, because this is new to our code this year. This was a strong recommendation from the committee and the administration that we look at a major and minor violation. And please understand that the administration will have the right to determine whether they feel it is a major violation or a minor violation. When we look at consequences for a major personal conduct violation, we look at percentages consistent with a substance policy violation. Some of the rationale there, so you're aware of that, is we wanted to make sure that if kids were making very poor choices in their conduct and behavior, that we sent a strong message that that is a high priority for our school and our administration, that they're representing us in a positive way. So we wanted to make sure that athletes understood that there's a major violation or a minor violation. And depending on how the administration determines that, obviously the suspension or the violation length is different. So minor violations would be consistent with what we did last year, 10%, 20%, 50%, and the major violations would be parallel with our substance policy. Any questions on the personal conduct violation? Yes.
Suspension, does that include practices that you do those games as well?
No. Good question again. Thank you, Mr. Handel. You need to be at practice. Okay? You need to finish the season in good standing. You need to be a good standing member of that team. Be at the games. Support your teammates. Make sure that you're doing what you have to do. You can still practice. You just cannot compete. We want you there. We want you to be part of this team. You made a mistake. But again, I go back to what we said. We're about educating. We're about giving these kids opportunities that we just don't cut them off from a good environment or a good place for them, but yet educate them so that they don't make these mistakes again. So it is expected that they go to the games. It is expected that they go to the practices. All right? And they should have good communication with their coaches if they are not able to make those practices or games. When it comes to, I think I can get to that in just a little bit. Any other questions?
Explain that the first violation, second, third, it's first one on ninth, third.
So yes, one thing we talk about in our athletic code is that any violation is cumulative. So if a person has a violation as a freshman, and then they have another violation as a junior, it's the second violation if it's in that policy area. So if I had an underage drinking ticket as a freshman, and I have another underage drinking ticket as a junior, that's my second violation. It's not just within a school year. Yes?
What if they were two different things? Would it
Correct.
still be cumulative, even if it was one was an underage thing and another was like a cheating thing or something?
Yep, very good question again. Oh, good questions tonight. That's awesome. So, if you have a substance policy violation, and it's your second or first offense, and then later on down the road, your junior year, you have a personal conduct violation, and that would be your first offense. It stays as a first offense because it's in a different category. It's different categories. Did I explain that well enough? Okay. Anything else? This is new, so I really want to make sure that people understand it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I really appreciate the committee doing what they did and bringing up some questions and some revisions that they recommended and felt were appropriate. Yes?
Suspension comes late in the season and there aren't that many games or athletics that we remember the following year.
Correct. So Mrs. Fleming asked if all of a sudden, let's say my whatever violation it is, whether it's a personal conduct or a substance policy violation, if I cannot, let's say I have to sit out 5 games and there's only 3 games left of the season that I'm in, it will carry over to your next season. So we've had situations where a violation has occurred in the fall and they don't do fall sports, they don't do winter sports, and they have to serve that violation in the spring. We've had situations where we do a fall sport, but it happens at the end, and we sit our scheduled games, and then we have to carry it over to the next season. Yes?
What if they play 2 different sports
Within the same season?
within the same season?
Good question. Our conference and the Badger Conference does not allow dual participation. So if you're a football player, you can't play soccer. If you're a basketball player, you can't wrestle. If you're a baseball player, you can't run track. Or if you're a cross-country runner, you can't play tennis. Correct. If the suspension was not finished or completed in full. So if it's a 3-game suspension and I only had 1 football game left, and then I go out for track in the spring, then I have to finish it in the spring. Okay? Good questions. Wow, it's probably the most questions I've had, so that's good. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll keep moving on if there's nothing else. Something brand new this year. Again, we're really trying to impress upon our student athletes the importance of honesty, the importance of responsibility, and the importance of basically, if you made a mistake, you own up to it. So the committee, again, strongly recommended to our administration that we put in a self-reporting clause. So you can read this on your own, obviously, but if a violation would occur of any kind, personal conduct or substance, on an evening or a weekend, we are hoping that the parent, the student together, or the student athlete report themselves. I made a mistake. All right, I keep going back to the drinking. It's probably the most obvious that we use. So again, if I, over the weekend, made a bad choice, I get an underage drinking ticket, and I self-report that to administration. This is a one-time situation where we will reduce the penalty in half. This is one time throughout the high school career of the athlete. We don't want this to be something that would occur additionally. It would be a one-time thing, trying to get them to come clean, report themselves, they did something wrong, and then we educate them and fix it and move on. Any questions on self-reporting? Again, we're looking at 50% of a reduction, but please also understand WIAA has a rule stating that you have to be out for one contest. Yes?
Would it be just for a first offense only, or could it be anywhere else?
Just first offense. One time. Yep. Yes?
That means you can only, the reduction and student suspension is only allowed once in a student's high school career. That's what that right?
Correct.
Does that mean that you can only self-report once?
No, you can self-report as often as you would like. We would hope that you wouldn't have occasional self-reportings. However, you're going to get a break one time. You're going to get a reduction in your suspension one time. So, again, I want to go back to what I said in trying to educate our children in the mistake that they made. Yes?
So it would be used, would it only be used on like the first year of the offense, or could it be used on like, if this is your third time, could you then self-report? If it's like the third time, would you self-report? Would that work, or is that not?
Typically, it would be with the first offense. That it would be your first offense that you did. Okay? All right. Moving on from self-reporting, I want to go to honesty clause. This is again a recommendation from our committee, consisted of all the people that we discussed earlier. If we know a possible violation has occurred, a name has been given to us, information has come to us that there's a alleged code violation, we would bring the student athlete down, myself and another administrator, or maybe just myself, or maybe just another administrator, and we would say to this person, basically it would go like this. We have information that there's an alleged code violation. We're expecting you to be as honest and forthcoming with information as you possibly can, and if you are to do that, there may be a reduction in your violation or in your suspension. If we find out through gathering more information that the student athlete is lying or being deceptive, not being honest, then there is a possibility of adding on a conduct violation of conduct unbecoming of a Spartan athlete. We obviously don't want our children lying to adults, so the committee felt very strongly that we want an honesty clause to, again, help them, but yet also let them know that if they are not forthcoming with information, that there is potentially another added suspension. And more than likely, that would be a conduct violation, and again, the administration would have the right to determine that as a major or minor. Okay? Some new stuff. I think it's beneficial for our school, our community, and our student athletes. So that is basically kind of the downer of my presentation, because it talks a lot about the bad stuff that no one wants to deal with, because it's not a fun part of growing up, it's not a fun part of parenting, it's not a fun part of being an athletic director. So we're going to talk a little bit about academics, the reason you're here, the reason you come to this school and you walk these hallways. You are a student athlete first, that has been mentioned to you numerous times tonight, so it's important that you keep your grades up. We have rules here academically that you must be passing all your classes and you must have above a 1.75 GPA to be eligible. Fall sports, which we're dealing with here, I take the grades from the second semester, your final grades of last year, for all current high school students. For middle school kids, 8th graders coming in, this does not pertain to you. If a high school student had a F or below a 1.75, they would then, by rule of WIAA, have to sit out 21 consecutive calendar days from the first date of competition. Each sport is different. First date of competition is different for cross country than it is for girls swimming. So it's 21 consecutive calendar days. If you look on your athletic code, which I'll show you how to reference that in a little bit, there's a date set there that you can regain your eligibility. The one thing we do for fall sport athletes is we do allow them to take summer school. So if they had an F, they can replace that F with a approved summer school class or an offered summer school class through McFarland. It could be online, could be classroom, but it's an approved course through our school. All right? If you have 2 Fs, you are automatically ineligible. You should still go to summer school, but you cannot participate in the athletics until that period of ineligibility is up. For winter and spring sports, you have 15 scheduled school days. Now we have numerous grading periods within our year. We have a midterm grade, and then we have a final grade. The midterm grade is the one that I look at for our winter and spring sports. And then the final grade, and we also look at our semester grade, our first semester grade for our winter sports. But for our fall sports, we just look at the last grade of this second semester. Any questions on academic eligibility? Okay. Attendance. Students need to be in school the entire day to compete in practices or games. Pre-arranged, pre-approved appointments, doctors, appointments, chiropractor appointments, dentist appointments, things of that nature. We would just please ask that you notify our office, and we would also ask that you do this in advance so that we know, and you can call the attendance office in the high school. If you should forget, we would appreciate that you turn in a slip in the front office from the appointment when returning from school so that we know where the child was. To be honest with you, even if you did call in, we would still appreciate a slip coming back to the school saying, this is where I was. This is a hard one sometimes, to be very honest with you. Kids leave school for numerous reasons, okay? Could be family reasons, it could be health reasons, but bottom line is, we want our athletes in school. It sends a bad message if our athletes are leaving school during the school day, and then participating and competing in practices or games at the end of the day. Again, we understand that there's appointments, and sometimes those appointments can't be made outside of school, and we want to be respectful of that. But please do not take advantage of this as a parent. If the bus gets home late and your child is tired, don't call them in. Get them out of bed and get them to school, because that's what life is. That's what life is. And we're not doing our kids favors if we enable them by sleeping in or not coming to school when they should be. All right? Questions on the attendance policy? Communication with coaches. This was that form that I used to give out, but I feel it's important that we talk to all of you about this. This would be a form that's going to be on that Parent Resource Center on my sports website, which is off the district website. Please look at this. Please follow this as communication procedures for you as a parent to a coach. First and foremost, encourage your athlete to communicate with the coach first. Again, help them learn how to do this. Help them understand that they need to be a young adult and address their concerns with another adult about how they're feeling. That's going to benefit them so much later on in life. So please help them understand that. Let your athlete talk to the coach first if you're worried about certain things, or they're worried about certain things. If that happens and it doesn't go the way that you hoped, or maybe the athlete didn't feel it went very well, then absolutely, parents should be able to meet with the athlete and the coach and discuss it, as long as the athlete and the coach have met first. I commonly get phone calls about playing time or procedures or policies within a program. The first question I'm going to ask a parent that calls me, did you call the coach before you called me, or has your athlete talked to the coach before you called me? I don't know the reason your child is not playing as much as the others. I don't know why they're having this or that, but the coach will. So please follow these procedures. If I need to get involved or the other administrators need to get involved, we will, because we want to rectify it. We want to help. But we want you to go through these processes first. I think sports can get very emotional, which is great. We can have high emotions and wonderful emotions, and we can have frustrated emotions. It can be a challenge as a family to go through a sporting event or a sporting season. But I think one of the worst things you can do as a parent is try to address a coach right after a game. Emotions are high, feelings could get hurt, things might be said that would not be appropriate. So it's best to give yourselves kind of a 24-hour rule. Let yourself cool down. Don't go home on your computer and send out some nasty email. Communicate. Communicate with people. We're all here to help your child. We're all here to support your athlete. But we have to be on the same page. And we have to work together to get that done. And if things are said that are hurtful, if things are done that are disrespectful, then that makes it more challenging. So please do the best that you can in dealing with the communication policies that we have. Transportation we talked about. It's my expectation that athletes go to the event on a bus and they come back home on a bus. Understanding that that doesn't always happen, you have a form, a half sheet, cut it in half. It's also on our district sports website to fill out and give it to the coach 24 hours in advance. Again, we would like this to be an exception, not a norm. Early release doesn't always happen in the fall, but typically it's more in the spring, where we would leave school early to get to a contest. Please remember you need to be passing all your classes in order to do that. If you're failing, we're not going to let you go. Again, student athlete. Concussion, this is on the online Infinite Campus registration. Parents, this is a state law, so please make sure that you're filling the information out correctly on that online registration and consenting with a parent and an athlete that you understand the signs and symptoms of a concussion. Again, going back to Jay Hansen, there's certain protocol that we need to do to be cleared. A medical professional needs to clear the child for competition and practice. Jay can't, you can't, your Uncle Jerry can't, okay? It has to be a medical professional, all right? And we need to have that in writing before we let them back in. If you think that your child or your athlete received a concussion in a sport, you need to get that athlete to Jay. Don't send them right away to your doctor. Let Jay assess it, evaluate it. He can help you through that process to get that athlete back into these competitions and practices quicker. There's a protocol that we have to follow. We're not going to put kids back on these fields of competition if their head is not right. It's a hot topic right now, and we do a lot in our school to protect us against this. Jay, anything to add?
No, you've done well.
All right. Concussion testing. We have certain sports that test, baseline test. We have football, volleyball, soccer. Please look at this. If your child is in this sport, you should write this information down, okay? Concussion testing is only for 9th grade and 11th grade athletes and anybody new to our district. 9th grade and 11th grade athletes and anybody new to our district. Their makeup dates are here. And Jay, if I remember correctly from our coaches meeting, if a soccer athlete needs to go to a football one, that is okay? Or you would prefer them to go with their sport?
I would prefer them to go with their sport, but if they cannot make that scheduled time, they can come to another sports time.
Okay. So again, if we would prefer that they go to their sport time. If they can't, try a makeup date first or another time, but please write those down and be aware of those concussion testing. Spectator behavior and student behavior. This is obviously a hot topic. Oh, yep, go ahead. The rooms are room 171 and 172 of the high school, and those are our computer labs. That's right. That's our computer labs kind of at the, what would it be, the east end of the building? Yes.
Paul, are you gonna, so the girls are playing soccer in the spring, that means you're gonna have another testing for them in the spring, or are they doing this now?
No, this is just for boys soccer. Yep, girls soccer will have their own testing in the spring. Spectator behavior, this is a point of emphasis. Obviously, it was a hot topic with the WIAA around Christmas time. I think Jay Billis got on his Twitter account and really kind of talked to us about what he felt about Wisconsin athletics and our state association. Bottom line, as your athletic director, this is where I come from. When you're at a contest, it's not only the coach and the athlete representing our school, it's also you as fans, you as parents. Is an official going to make a mistake? Yes. Is a coach going to make a mistake? Yes. Is an athlete going to make a mistake? Absolutely yes. Okay? That doesn't mean that the athlete makes more mistakes than anybody else. I didn't mean it that way. But people make mistakes. If we go off in a rant and a rage of how crazy that call was, that does not represent our school and our community the way that we want it. Officials make calls, coaches make calls, and athletes do things in the heat of the contest. Please be respectful. That doesn't mean I expect you to be holy angels and sit on your hands and, never say a word, but know that your words are being heard from other people. And the same to my athletes here. When you are in the crowd as a spectator and a fan, it is my expectation that you're cheering positively for our athletes. You're not cheering against the other team. You're there to support your team. You're there to support your peers, your friends. Focus your cheers and your positive energy on them rather than negative energy towards the opponent. I will have more parent resources on the website for this. The WIA provides a WIA parent and athlete handout that you can look at as well. Club sports versus high school sports. This is becoming more of an issue because sports are starting to be played year-round, out of season. We have soccer year-round, we have swimming year-round, we have basketball year-round, we have volleyball year-round, and it's starting to conflict with our in-season high school sports. My job as the athletic director of the McFarland School District is to promote our sports. I am not hired by a club. I am not hired by an organization. I'm hired by the school district of McFarland to promote, what we do. And our sports are the ones that I would prefer our kids are in attendance at. Please read the athletic code carefully. It does say in there that attendance at practice and competitions is mandatory. Now, I realize that this is an opportunity for some kids, and a good opportunity. But we have to understand what's the message that's being sent to the other teammates when all of a sudden somebody leaves early from a practice, or doesn't show up to a game, or decides to play in a tournament over the weekend and injures themselves, which could happen even in our in-season sports. I think you have to have a conversation with your coach if you're going to have club sports involved during your in-season sport here at McFarland. You need to talk to that coach. The coach may have consequences for you not making the practice or missing a game. And again, the athlete should have that conversation, as well as the parent, after the athlete and the coach have talked. I strongly feel that allegiance to your high school in-season sport is very important to your teammates, your school, and your community. You're representing us, and we want you there. We want you there at the practices, and we want you there at the games. Yes, Tim. Club sports and our in-season sports?
Does the WIA still emphasize or stress the idea that you can't be a basketball team and then go play a basketball team? Is that a WIA rule?
At the last annual meeting in April, it was voted on by our association that it is allowed for an athlete to play the same sport of that season. This is a major change in our WIAA rules. Before, they could not do this. Now they're allowed to do 2 contests. I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with it, because again, my job is to promote this school, this community, and our sports programs. And if we're missing kids to go and participate in other sport opportunities, it's not allowing us to put our best team, our best kids on the athletic playing area. Student athletic passes can be purchased really by anybody. They'll have it on their ID right here, a little color of some sort. I try to change it every year, so we realize that you bought one and don't have the same color all the time. $20 through your school registration. So thank you for doing that, and it allows our kids to get to the games, I think, at a pretty reasonable cost, because it's in the Rock Valley Conference, it's $2 for admission, and in the Badger Conference that our hockey and swimming programs are involved in, it's $4. So it does save a little bit of money for the kids. Helpful websites. Okay, Mr. Pivanetti, since you're back there, if you're still awake, could you please move the mouse and click on the McFarland School District website? So this will take you to our new website. It was new last year, if everything goes according to plan like it did this afternoon. You'll come up to basically a picture that shows you like the rising sun over, I believe, a lake of some sort. And obviously it's not working now, so I apologize for that. But you will then go to the tabs at the top. You will look at high school, and you will scroll down to the sports area. On the sports area, say that again. Mr. Pivanetti will take care of it. When you go onto that area, you'll see many things on the left-hand column. Our athletic code is on there, our transportation slips, other information, concussion information, but you then can click on boys sports, girls sports, or co-ed sports. Okay, wonderful. So schools, yeah, there you go, drag it down, and then hit the sports. And we have some pictures of our last year's teams. They scroll through. If you scroll down to the left-hand side there, you can see under sports, you have boys teams, co-ed teams, and girls teams. You have the athletic activity code of conduct, key points of the athletic code, which you've already received tonight, and then so on and so forth. If you click on girls teams, Mr. Piavanetti, thank you. And let's say we go to tennis. Since I was at the tennis meeting today, I'll use them as an example. They'll have a picture of the team. We'll have to change the head coach there. Mrs. Gaffney would be our head coach. They have the earning the letter. They have the conference, the season, the start date. And then on the right-hand side, it gives you schedules, varsity and JV. Mr. Piavanetti, if you could click on that. Should take you to our school website that I use for all of our scheduling purposes. And everything is located right there, bus times, locations. Is it always correct? I'd like to say it's always correct, but obviously things change, so please understand that. But we do try to keep this as accurate as possible. All right. And then we'll take us back to the PowerPoint, Mr. P. Thank you. The WI website is just a website that you can go on to find postseason information, other rules of transfer rules or anything like that. It has a huge base of information when it comes to our association for the WIA. And then lastly, contact information. So you have myself there as the athletic director, Mr. Finstead is the principal, contact information for Mr. Piavanetti and Mrs. Nichols as well. We had some meetings earlier today at 5 for our tennis, soccer, and golf programs. Now we'll be going into our football, volleyball, cross country, and girls swimming, and getting ready for those sport-specific meetings. I realize this got a little long. I appreciate the questions. I again apologize for the heat. Please turn in your key points form into the wooden box down here. And if you want to turn in the HIPAA form, please turn in that as well. Yeah, right. Where's the box? I should just leave it right here for people.
Thank you.
Hey, can I turn this in for